60% of all stats are made up right on the spot. So today I'm here to explain the true facts about video games. And with video games, you have puzzles, teamwork building skills, masterpieces of art, and hand-eye coordination, and of course, epic tales that can't be told anywhere else. Now, there's a problem that parents think, oh, if I buy my children these expensive excuses to stay inside, that they'll become lazy and violent. But that's not always the case. And looking at the video game industry, you can see that they have many good facts. Firstly, they deal a lot with the child's creativity. And Ken Levine, who is a lead designer at Irrational Games, is working on a game called BioShock Infinite. And over the past few months, he's explained that creating a floating city that is populated and vibrant is tough. Then watching as it begins to decay over the course of the game, with paint peeling, buildings sinking, and airships exploding into plumes of fire and debris, take talented artists thousands of hours. But it's all worth it for the fans. Now, granted that can be somewhat violent, but at the same time, you have to look at the story that they're trying to tell. And Fumito Ueda, who's the lead designer of Ico, which was on the original PlayStation back in 2001, he knows a lot about storytelling. It doesn't need to be heavy dialogue. It needs to be a connection, an emotion. Stories tell the player something. It makes them think. So now we've built a foundation that they take these journeys and these stories, and you see these creative worlds that have been created. But creativity also has to deal with design of a game. And Valve does this really well with Portal 2, who Gabe Newell had something to say. Portal 2's tools are the same as our developers used. But this time, there are no deadlines. Thus, possibilities are limitless. And using the Steam Workshop, any gamer can go on and hop into Portal 2 and create their own puzzles and challenge themselves. And this really helps children and future game designers see an artistic and a narrative side and a game mechanic side of video games, which can help translate into real life. And even though they've explored the imagination and the mechanics, you have to think of the scientific implementation of video games. Hand-eye coordination is one that's often brought up. And Mark Blair from Simon Fraser University used 1.5 billion points of data over a case study of 150,000 subjects playing StarCraft 2, which is a very popular PC real-time strategy game. Watching the screen without taking a glance down is hard for most people. But watching it while making an average of over 200 actions per minute is a feat that seems rather impossible. And then another good effect of video games has to deal with communication and team building. And there's a very popular title out there, the Gears of War franchise, which has been spearheaded by Cliff Bleszinski, who is the lead designer over at Epic Games. And he's created a multiplayer scenario that has drawn in millions of fans over the course of years. And Cliffy B had this to say: "The COG are a team. The Locust are a team. And between these teams, there's a gaping hole from hell that swallows them into war. So that stranger sounding obscenities in your ear, yeah, he's the one that you need to count on." And teamwork is a great example of what you can gather from a video game, because when you get out into the workforce, or when you're in school, or when you're in a relationship, or part of your family, there's always a team involved. You're usually never off on by your own. And I mean, you can look at the success of video games, because it's in 2010 they reported a fiscal year of $23 billion across the industry. So people out there are buying them. And now, a good way to get into these games is a website called IGN. You can read about games, you can watch games, you can listen to them talk about games, and as parents, you can look at which ones are rated what ones are good ones, which ones are bad ones, and you can see what people honestly think about games. And then you can make the right decision for your children, and you can partially shape their future using video games. If I get my child Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, it's a sprawling universe that has been created by 38 studios. And you can look at that and you can drive their creativity using the world that they'll be in. And a great way to hop into this as well is to simply just buy into cell phone games. With smartphones being popular amongst millions, it's $1 for a game, $2 for a game, and it could be hours of joy from this simple little touchscreen game. And, you know, a lot of phone games are puzzling, and they have good graphics, and they have these journeys that you can partake in. But I mean, you also have to use the touchscreen. You're relaying the information back to yourself and following it with twitch reflexes. And there are even multiplayer games for your phone. And these can be used to play a simple game with the person next to you. Words with Friends is a very popular one that you can spell against other people. And you're gaining knowledge, and you're increasing your vocabulary, and you're playing a video game. And for those that preach that video games are too violent or they make someone lazy, you have to look at who actually plays video games. All men, women, races, religions, ages. Everybody's playing video games. Everybody's becoming a better person. They're developing skills that they can apply in the real world, and they are becoming better people. Thank you.